Good evening, everyone. Welcome to today's show. My name is Clementine Bihiga, and I'm an empowerment speaker and a published author. Today, we will be talking about the Columbus African Festival. And this festival will take place right here in Columbus at Genoa Park on Sunday, June 29th and Sunday, June 30th. You do not want to miss it. Now, with us today, we have the founders of the Columbus African Festival and the owners of the Fork of Nigeria food truck. This is a true power couple, and this is going to be a fun show. Welcome, Dr. Barth and Dr. John Shepkong.
Thank you.
Thank you so
for having
much.
us.
We're looking forward to this. This is funny.
Awesome. So I have worked with you guys for a couple years, and I've always wanted to know what is the secret sauce behind everything you do. So today I get the chance to interview you and learn more about you and how you became the power couple that you are. Okay, are we ready?
Of course, absolutely.
All right. So first, let me know just about you, your personal life, how you guys met. Let's begin with that. How did you guys meet?
Ladies first, go ahead.
Of course, I knew he was going to do that to me.
The ladies' stories are juicier anyway. So
absolutely.
Let's see. How did we meet? We met in Chicago, actually. This was 2010, 2011, I think. Somewhere there. I can't remember exactly which year.
There you go.
But a friend of mine literally was like, I'm going to Chicago. You should come. I'm going for a reunion. So I said, sure, I'll go with you. So I went to Chicago and I knew him because, funny enough, my mom and his mom worked together. So we grew up in the same place in Nigeria, but we never knew each other. So our paths never crossed. So I knew of him, but I didn't know him personally. So I'm like, well, there's someone that I sort of know. Let me message him and say, what are you doing? Come take us out. And sure, he was like, okay. And when you're young, you don't really think about some of these things. I just thought, okay, this will be fun. So he took us and showed us around Chicago all day. And then, I thought he hit it off with my friend the whole time.
Oh, wow. I love it.
He was trying to go to law school. She's in law school. So they kind of had something in common. And so they talked a lot the whole time, and that was it. It took another year before we started talking. And
no, that's not true. You kept coming and coming and
coming
back and coming back.
Because I never really talked to him again after I came back. And then
because there is that friend code, right?
Yeah, we were just friends. I called him on his birthday. The following year, I called him on his birthday to wish him a happy birthday. And then we ended up talking for like 4 hours. And that was where it all took off. He's like, are you taking applications? That was very cheesy, by the way. That was how he asked me out, if I was taking applications.
Well, I mean, was it on my birthday? I remember I was talking to you and I almost missed my flight. Remember, I was heading to Nigeria.
Yeah.
I was at JFK having, the conversation was, very interesting. I almost missed my flight to Nigeria. So, wow. But yeah, I mean, it's she's right, and that is where, and the rest is history. We're here today.
So what made you, John? What made you call him on his birthday? Because you thought he hit it off with your friend, but you decided to call him on his birthday anyway.
Well, we were friends, So I've always had a relationship with him, but it was never really. We were not close friends. And even though I thought he hit it off with my friend, I just call him as, again, we always randomly would send message, hey, how are you? But it's never really, we never talk,
I see.
And that was the first time we actually had a conversation. And then we were talking about everything: religion,
Politics, religion,
politics,
social,
marriage,
everything,
children.
you know. So
That's amazing. Tell us a little bit about your children, Dr. Barth. I know you have two little boys,
oh yeah,
very
I have
adorable.
absolutely a 4 year old and a 2 year old. They're keeping us busy. Isidore and Zamien. You know, these are great kids. To be honest, I mean, it's I'm proud of them. Looking at them, they're just a blessing, to be honest. And there's you couldn't ask for anything. Being a dad, to be honest, has completely changed my perspective of life. It has changed me as a person. You know, taught me a lot of patience. Something that I really need to work on. But I
Don't
think
we
having
all?
them is nothing but a blessing. Sometimes you just feel like, what is going on? But you really, they teach
Right.
you a lot of lessons.
Oh, yes. Being a parent definitely
Absolutely.
changes you. And that is
Absolutely.
one thing I have realized too. I had to learn to be patient. So, are you planning on having more children or just
Well, I always say, I'm African and of course I'm Catholic, you know. So,
yes,
you know, be fruitful and multiply. What's the point?
that's right.
So,
Dr. Joan, I hope you're ready.
Oh, you know, it's funny because I always thought, not me, not kids, and they really give you a why. They
Right.
make everything worth living. And then you say, you know what? Yeah, they're a challenge. They have their moments, but they're worth it. So, absolutely ready.
yeah.
I said, if I had known kids were so much fun, I probably would have had 10 of them.
Listen,
But
you are still young and beautiful. You can still have 10 kids. I'll be the auntie. I'll
you
be the
are so
sister.
sweet. You're so sweet.
Now let's shift. So you met in Chicago. Where were you living? Were you living in Ohio, Dr. John? How did that work?
Oh, don't open up that can of worms. 'Cause I'm reminded every day that I pulled him to this country. He liked his Chicago, and he had to move here for me. So,
So
um,
describe that transition. What was the transition like from, Chicago for you to come to Columbus, Dr. Bath?
Oh, geez, it was a big change. Chicago is very beautiful. You
And
know,
very
so
cold.
is Columbus.
well. I mean, yeah, it's beautiful and cold, but clean. A lot of skyscrapers. I don't see anything here in Columbus when I when I moved here. But at
And
the
then
beginning,
adjusting with
at,
friends
at the
and
yeah,
family and work.
I've
Mhm.
been there. I've been in Chicago for like 10, 11 years. So
Okay.
you can imagine the change.
Yeah,
It's
it
like
was a big
coming
change.
here. She's the only person I knew. You have to start making friends again. You know, so it was a challenge. It was
So
a
is it hard for you to make friends? I don't think so, but I might be
me
wrong.
me.
Yes.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
I mean, I take my time. In case you don't know, I'm an introvert. So I am very selective when it comes to friends. I don't have a lot of friends, and it
Right.
takes
As
time
you
for
should.
me. It takes time for me to really make friends. So, but it was a bit challenging. It was not
Right.
a bit. It was challenging. That
It
is
was
even an understatement. It
things
was
you do for
challenging.
love, right? Things you do
Yeah, I
for love.
mean, I don't know if I'm. I don't know. Let me not put myself in trouble. Just, so
So
but
how has this shaped your perspective of the American dream, right? Like things you had to go through in order to be here, start a family, and later on we're going to talk about your business. But how has this changed your perspective of the American dream as a couple?
what is the American dream, by the way?
You tell me, what is the American dream?
I mean, for me, to answer your question, we were talking about parenting and family. I've always been maybe too ambitious, they say. You think you can just go and build the world by yourself. You know what I mean? And then when you get married, you have to merge dreams, which can be a challenge. Especially, we didn't get married at 21 or at 16.
How old were you when you got married?
Don't ask me that question. I was in my 30s when I get married.
Okay.
How about that?
Well, you look like you're in your 30s now, so that's why I'm kind of trying to figure this out.
Thank you. But no, I was in my 30s when I got married.
Okay.
So at that stage, I was pretty established. He was pretty established. So it's like when you get married at that stage in your life, it takes a whole lot more adjustments than when you get married, when you're just out of high school or just starting college or just out of college trying to figure life. So it takes a whole lot more. I don't want to use the word sacrifice, but it's more like a
compromise.
Yeah, it's more like a compromise. So you got to let go of some of your dreams. He had to let go of some of his. And it's a tug of war trying to figure out what works for both. Because now it's not me anymore. Is how do we create a better life for us? And then once kids get into the picture, it totally shifts that thought process again, because now it's not just what do we need, but what do we make sure we build as a legacy for the kids. So you have to now start thinking about that so-called American dream all over again, because the American dream could just be, I have a job that I love, I can pay my bills, and I'm able to take a trip once a year. I'm living the dream,
Right. It's subjective.
Definitely. Exactly. Absolutely. And then it could be, I'm able to leave a 401k, so when I retire, I have something. Or I could build a house for my kid when they grow up, so really, you always have to kind of reconsider what that definition is for you. And we had to do that several times, shifting from just one person trying to build their American dream to two of us building our dream to now building a dream for the kids.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much. We are going to take a quick break, so stay tuned.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, welcome back to the show. My name is Clementine Bihiga. I am a motivational speaker and a published author. Today with us, we have Dr. Barth and John Shepkong, and this is a true power couple. They are the founders of the Columbus African Festival and the owners of the Fork of Nigeria food truck, some of the best Nigerian food here in Columbus. So welcome back. So now we are going to go ahead and shift and talk about your food truck business. What made you decide to start a food truck business?
What made you decide?
So because she makes all the decisions? Is that
because what it was her decision. So okay. Please, it was her decision. Go ahead.
To be honest, It's multiple fold, but I always credit the Columbus African Festival for why we started a food truck, because I've always wanted a Nigerian restaurant in the city. I've been wanting to get one for quite a bit. But again, it was, as a pharmacist, really, how do you maneuver? How do you manage owning a restaurant? And this was even before I got married. Like, it's something I'd always wanted. But then when we had the first Columbus African Festival in 2019, we were looking everywhere for an African food truck, so that we can at least have an African food truck at the festival, and there was zero. And that was the trigger at that time. You know what? Instead of just thinking restaurant, a food truck would be great, because then we can take the food to the people.
Right.
So that was truly the initial push to go ahead and consider getting a food truck.
So if I had a party at my house,
Mhm.
could I ask you to come and park in my driveway and feed my people, or how does that work?
Absolutely. So every event we do is customized to the person. So you can say, hey, I'm having a party at my house. Can you cater and come and set up inside and serve my guests? Or you can say, hey, you know, I want my guests to actually have options, because some people don't want a situation where everybody is eating rice. Like, what if I don't want to eat rice? You
Right.
know? So then they say, hey, can you just come park the truck, and my guests get to pick whatever they want off the truck, and we'll just pay for it at the end of the party for that, for example. So yeah, it really just depends on how you would want to do it. But we can absolutely pull up and park in front of your yard and serve your guests.
Absolutely.
That is amazing. You're definitely meeting your clients where they are, which is super important. It's convenient. And as I mentioned in the beginning of the show, I have tried your food and it's amazing. So great
Thank
job
you.
on that. Great
Thank
job on that.
Yeah.
So, as a husband and wife duo, how do you maintain balance between your duties at home, work, and organizing the African festival? How do you do that, Dr. Barth?
Well, you have to be, first of all, it's challenging, but you have to prioritize. This is something that we set out to do, and is a vision that we really are trying to, as a way of showcasing African culture. So you just have to prioritize exactly what to do, what time you want to do this. Again, as I said, it's very, very difficult to maneuver all these things together
Right.
at the same time. And again, we have a team, a team, especially at the Columbus African Festival, that people are doing their best to see it happen. There are volunteers, that we utilize, and I'm just gonna plug it in there. We still need volunteers, and we're always needing volunteers, to definitely come and help, because it is not just for the organizers. It is also, we're doing this one for the city, for the African community in Central Ohio, and by extension, the state of Ohio. And as they always say, it is also for the culture, right? So an idea of showcasing African culture to those that have no clue of what Africa, because save it. Yeah, let's face it. There's a lot of people out there. When you say Africa, they just have one perspective, So we have different cultures in the continent of Africa. So the whole idea is to find a way of showcasing that, and and you just have to make it happen by, again, as I said, prioritizing what needs to be done at what stage.
Absolutely. You make a really good point. And we're going to discuss more about the African Festival. But the point that you just made about Africa having just diverse, different customs, and so when I tell people I'm from Rwanda, and they see the traditional outfits we wear, they're very surprised because it's not the typical African outfit you would see. It's more like a Indian sari looking outfit. And I tell people Africa is so huge, it's diverse. You speak
Absolutely.
hundreds and hundreds of languages, different types of food. So this is definitely something that's adding value. So thank
Absolutely.
you for doing that. And the first time I attended the Columbus African Festival was right before COVID, and I absolutely had a great time. And that's when I reached out to your team and I said, listen, I got to be involved. So super happy to be
Thank
part
you.
of the team. And
Absolutely.
as I mentioned, the Columbus African Festival will take place on July 29th and the 30th at Genoa Park. Do not miss it. And we do need volunteers. We are going to feed you if you come and volunteer. And you are going
Absolutely.
to just have a blast. You're going to meet these power couple. And speaking about meeting you, give us some advice. What advice would you give to other couples considering starting a business together?
Wow. That is it may sound very, very simple, but you know, as one of our mentors will say, you have to speak with one voice. You have
How
to
do you do
speak.
that?
Yeah, you have to agree.
Okay.
After a couple of conversations, I mean, business. You don't just say, okay, I feel that this is good for the business, or she feels that this is good for the business. So speaking with one voice, for the sake of the business, is very, very important. You have to have the same voice. Um, Definitely, you would disagree, because both of you are looking at, oh, I feel like this is good, or this is. So where do you strike a balance? You know, and it shouldn't be my way or the highway. You know,
Right.
if you really want your business to succeed, uh, just simple for me again, as I said, you learn to speak with one voice. And
So when your wife came up with the idea of the
uh-huh.
food truck,
Mhm.
did you think it was a great idea? Or are you like, yeah, let's do it? Or did
No
you have
way, no way. It took a lot of convincing, I may tell you, because for me, being the kind of person I am, focus in the academia. I just want to be doing my own thing. She always makes fun of me. You just want to be that professorial person. But it took. I think it took almost
A year.
a year for her to really. I grudgingly got into it. Grudgingly, because it wasn't, and again, it was also a transition. I have to figure out how do I keep my work at the college and also do this. And again, on top of it, you have a family,
right?
So it was, but again, I had to speak to myself, try to, again, as I said, prioritize, find a way to make it happen. Because whatever you have your mind set on, you will definitely find a way to make it work. So
Absolutely.
yeah, that is what I did. I was, what, this is not impossible. I can do this and do that and do that at the same time, even though it's a lot of work. But at the same
Mhm.
time, it requires, more planning, and especially strategic planning, as a
Right.
matter of fact. Yes.
And you're a very strategic person. So I can only imagine all the different strategies that were going on in your head to make sure that this is going to fit in with whatever you're already doing.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So,
I'm just
Joan, yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna add, it's it's balance. Um, I think that a lot of times when a couple choose a path, most times when you get married, let me go back to that. When you first get married, and you have to merge visions and goals and dreams, a lot of times getting to that one voice can be challenging. But in order for you to be able to run a business, because I come from a different background from him, you know, I'm more in the healthcare and he's more social justice. So we're polar, like polar opposites if you look from a distance, you know? And I think a lot of times people say, again, it sounds cliche, but they say marriage is work, but marriage is work, you know? And you can't throw in the towel because you disagree, because you will. And sometimes it takes time. Like we're talking about, it took a year to get to a place where we can say we're sort of comfortable. And every day you still have, you know, things pop up where we still have to struggle to balance um, our vision and our dream, because it comes down to vision and dream. But, you know, I would say kudos to him, because the truth is, um, as Africans, we know how African men can be. And
yes, I definitely understand.
and sometimes it's really hard to get them to change their minds or respect the views of the woman, you know. And so again, it's a lot of courage that comes from a man that says, okay, let's go with your vision and see where it takes us, you know, because a lot of times there's a lot of ego that goes into, I'm the man and I make the rules, and you don't, you go with whatever I say, period.
So, what is your secret to convincing your African husband to agree with your business ideas? How did you maneuver him? Because a lot of us African women would like to know.
I don't think, I don't want to say there's a secret per se, but if there were to be a secret, I think it's that traditional grandmother secret, to be honest, which is you can't force your way into getting things. I think that the new generation African woman tends to feel like, I know, and you need to come with me, and you need to follow me, and blah, 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 you know. And that doesn't get anything done. If anything, it just turns him way off. And so, anybody that knows me, they know it's not like I'm the meekest woman on the planet. So I'm not trying to say I'm this very meek, whatever kind of wife. However, I don't think that you got to fight a man for everything that you want. Sometimes you need to plant the seed and let it go, and just
I like that.
stand by what you believe, but not necessarily fight for it. You know what I mean? So when the opportunity comes, you reiterate, this is what I would love, and then try to give convincing reason why there is benefit to it without fighting.
Yeah, I think a reasonable human being. I mean, I'm not just gonna say a reasonable man or woman. A reasonable human being that again, it's about the family. It's about where we're going. A reasonable person will sit down and say, okay, let me weigh the merits and demerits of this and see where is it going to take us. And again, at the same time, there is this sense of, for me, even though I was okay, let's go with it, but there was this sense of apprehension because I don't know where the whole thing is going to take us.
Of course.
So, but you just have to listen, and you don't just embark on that journey with an open mind. Even though there is a sense of a little bit of apprehension, but at the same time, you don't know where it's gonna take you tomorrow. So I don't think she did a lot of convincing. Yeah, I said I did it grudgingly, but at the same time, you have to sit down and look and think about where is this thing heading us. If, to be honest, if it's taking us somewhere, if it's not taking us somewhere, I would have said, you know what, but the willingness to give it a try, you know, the willingness to give it a try and see what happens, you know. And that does not mean that you will not have a plan B or a plan C or plan D, you know,
Right,
in case
exactly.
this
You
does not.
remind me of the saying, you miss 100% of the chances you don't take, right? And
Absolutely.
it
Absolutely.
looks like
Absolutely.
you took a chance and it's obviously working out and you're inspiring other couples and just the African community. So kudos to that. All right, so let's go ahead and take one last break and check out some of the performers that will be performing at the Columbus African Festival.
What up, baby? Y'all feeling good? Let me hear you say, oh yeah. This is Heartbreak Hotel. It's a Heartbreak Hotel. Welcome to Heartbreak Hotel.
Back to roots. Until that day.
Hotel. Welcome to Heartbreak
All right. Welcome back to the show. That was great music. I was over here doing my little dance. Cannot wait to see all these performers. Welcome to the Columbus African Festival. It's on July 29th and July 30th at Genoa Park. You just saw some of the performers that will be there. We will have many more. We will have food. We'll have arty crafts. We'll have fashion show. So absolutely great event. You don't want to miss it. Today we do have the founders of the Columbus African Festival and the owners of Fork of Nigeria, Dr. Barth and Dr. John. And now let's go ahead and move into talk more about the Columbus African Festival. So, what is the mission of the Columbus African Festival?
It's very simple, you know, showcasing African culture to, you know, uh, people of Central Ohio and by extension, Ohio and looking at the Midwest. You know, again, as when we talk about Africa, unfortunately, a lot of people have a misconception about the continent of Africa. You know, or sometimes when I see quote unquote the African dance, it makes me wonder what part of Africa is that. You know, so the again the mission is just to showcase African culture by educating people that you know they have no a little bit of knowledge about the continent or what we do, about our food, about our mode of dressing, you know, and all that. So, do you want to add more?
Yes. So while we're hoping to introduce the culture to new people, we also want to celebrate the culture. We want Africans in the diaspora, and there's a lot of argument about what African is or who is African, but every bit of us that misses home to an extent, you know, be it people that came here through the slave trade or people that came from, or ended up in the Caribbean somewhere, or, African Americans that identify and want to learn more about the continent, and people like us that are first, second, third generation that are here. We want to be able to get an opportunity to celebrate us, celebrate the culture, celebrate our food, share this culture with those that know nothing about it, and or enlighten those that have some levels of misconceptions, as he had mentioned, So it's for all of us. It's for all of us.
Absolutely. And you know what? A couple of things. So, Dr. Barth, you mentioned the dancing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I've been doing traditional Rwandan dancing for as long as I can remember, since I was like 8 years old, and I've been performing. And people usually ask me, "Hey, can you show me, a little bit about your dance and show me how you move?" And when I start doing my dance, I just get this surprised look, because apparently a lot of people think that African dancing is all about just shaking your butt, right? And there is none of that in my culture. Matter of fact, no, the Rwandan culture is so reserved. You do not want to be shaking your butt in front of your parents, right? Or any other, right? So this is really a great way of educating the community, even our fellow Africans, right? Because as you
Absolutely.
mentioned, Africa is so big. I don't know everything about every country in Africa. And I find myself learning something new every single time I go to the African festival, and so this is great. It's not just for folks who are not Africans, but even us, to learn more about each other, to
Absolutely.
appreciate each other and things like that. So what inspired you to create the Columbus African Festival? Actually, let me back up. Whose idea was it?
Whose idea was it?
Yes, whose idea was it?
Well, again, I will give her, I will give her the, I will give her the kudos. Um, we sat down one day and we were having a conversation. Why is it that we have this festival, that festival, this festival, that festival, and there is nothing to celebrate Africa in the city of Columbus? So, conversation led to another conversation. Then we started a group called the African, and we're bouncing with the idea of, okay, how do we make this happen? Then we realized that other folks were also thinking about the same thing. Then someone reached out to us. I mean, Mustafa reached out to us that, okay, you know what? This is what we've been thinking now. Okay, we're okay. You've been thinking about this, and we've been thinking about the same thing. So instead of you doing your own thing and us doing our own thing, why can't we just come together, right? So we came together, and we staged the first Columbus African Festival, even though based on what we were told that was it in the 80s or 90s, there was
Early
something
2000s.
early 2000s, there was something like that, and it stopped. So
Mhm.
we let me say we brought it back at Innis Park 2019, and it was a huge, as far as I'm concerned, for the first time. It was a good, it was a success.
How many people
People.
came
Oh
to
God,
the
we
first one?
I
Do you
think
About
remember?
5,000.
we had about 5,000 people at January.
Wow,
Yeah,
that is
at
amazing.
Innis Park. Sorry, at Innis Park. So it was a huge success, and here we are today. Thanks to the conversation, thanks to her, and other people that have been thinking about it, and we are here today, and this is the fourth year. Yeah, even though
Amazing.
we took a break. I'm sorry, during COVID,
Right.
because of the pandemic. Then we came back at 2021, right? And we're gradually heading there.
We're definitely
I love it.
growing. Starting from Ennis Park to Genoa Park is a huge shift. The city recognizes the
Absolutely.
value of
Absolutely.
celebrating the African culture in this city. So we have a lot of support from the city council.
Absolutely.
They definitely are encouraging. They want to see more. Again, a lot of other cultures are showcased, and instead of each person doing their own separate thing, this is an opportunity to create a Pan African celebration, which they want to encourage. So we appreciate that a lot. So I mean, if you know where Ennis Park is and you know where Genoa Park is, you know that this is a huge growth for the Columbus African Festival. But it's very important for the Africans to come out and celebrate, because we've come a long way and we want the city to recognize us in numbers, because to get anything done, you need numbers. And
Right,
if they
right.
can see that there's 10,000, 20,000 Africans coming out to celebrate the African festival, it shifts their perspective in how they communicate with us and the level of funding they give to the communities and how they support the African community going forward. And we know that elections are coming, which is something that they would like to capitalize on. And we can also capitalize on it, you know? So
Absolutely.
we need to be able to see how we can benefit as a community collective through this festival, from what leaders we put in office and how they can help our community as a whole.
Absolutely.
So how many people are you expecting to attend this year's festival?
This is our first year we're doing a 2-day festival.
Right.
So that makes a huge difference. All things being equal, with the sun blasting and no rain to shut us down like it did last year.
Last year, yep.
The intention is to get to 20,000 people this year.
20,000. Look at that. I
Yes.
love it. And you know what? I have no doubt this is going to happen. And it sounds like, there has been a lot of evolution from when you started, right?
Absolutely.
5,000 people the first festival at a Guinness Park, and now you're moving into a bigger space. And I assume a lot more sponsorship, because the community has seen the value that you provide. So what would you say is your most rewarding experience running the event?
You know, I cannot just pinpoint one, but seeing creating an opportunity or a space for Africa or Africans in Columbus to showcase their culture, for me, is very important. And secondly, it's not just about the culture. We're trying also to create like an economic empowerment for our people, because when you look at it, all the vendors, let me not say all, 90% of the vendors
Majority.
are African vendors, which, that is the essence, not just showcasing culture, but also providing economic opportunities for our people, and also showcasing the African talents that we have. Um, Africa has taken a center stage when it comes to music, in the music industry, but at the same time, Columbus should not be at the backstage, right? So these are some of the things that I feel, we were able to showcase, and we hope to do more. And I just want to just allude to what she said earlier in regards to the city. The African community in Central Ohio is underrepresented as far as I am concerned. And it's not that we don't have a good number of Africans. We do. You have the Rwandese, the Congolese, Sierra Leoneans, Senegalese, Nigerians, Ghanaians, the Somalis, Ethiopians, Eritreans. We have a good number of Africans in this city, that I think is high time, for us to be, acknowledged. But again, they're not just gonna give it to us like that. We have to get up,
Exactly.
yeah, we have to get up and do our own, and show the city and those that are in charge of policies in this city that this is what we want. These are some of the policy issues that our people are dealing with. So it's not just about celebration, food, music, and dance. It's about economics and also policies that affect the African community in Columbus, Ohio.
So let's shift to the educational aspect of the Columbus African Festival. what kind of educational programming have a role in the festival, and also just in terms of promoting awareness and understanding of the African heritage? What kind of things do you have?
Well, importantly is we talk about the artists that are performing. That is educational because we have over 10 different countries being represented, which allows us to be able to see that different people are there. And like you were saying earlier, a Rwandan dance group versus a Nigerian dance group, are completely different worlds. So that's totally educational. The clothing, we have a lot of vendors that are showcasing, selling, promoting different clothes. We have paintings. We have a lot of people that are selling jewelry. Again, East African jewelry versus North African jewelry is not the same. So we have different, we try to represent as many varieties as possible. We have dance classes that are going to be offered on the side. So again, if you want to learn a little bit, again, we don't want to make it seem like we are showing 50 something countries in this 30-minute, 1 hour dance class. But it's an opportunity to get a little snippet of this is also an African dance, and of course we can't say food because we have East African food, we have West African foods, we have I don't think we have Northern African foods presented, but again, we have about 10 different countries that are going to be selling their foods. So you try different foods, which also teaches you, because, with what we do in terms of our business, I have so many people come and say, I've had African food and I didn't like it, but I like yours. Or I've always liked African food, but I hated yours,
Right.
So again, I've always asked, what do you mean when you say African food?
Yep.
Right.
Just within Nigeria, we don't cook the same. So you could have had a friend, which is what most people will tell you. I had a friend, or my grandmother, or somebody. You could have had a friend that is Igbo, and I'm Yoruba, and the foods are not the same. So just because you've been eating your friend's food, now you eat my food, and then you tell me, oh, this is nothing. This is not
right.
Horrible. But it's not fair because your experience is not intercontinental or into country, whatever you want to put it. I've had Rwandan food. It's completely, there's no comparison to Nigerian
Absolutely.
food. So it's not fair for me to go to a Rwandan restaurant and be like, I've always had African food and this is ridiculous. So,
it's not spicy enough.
Exactly. There's zero
our
flavor.
food is not spicy like your food. So.
No, they're gonna say there's no flavor because they're expecting heat.
Yeah.
But the spices you use spices. It's just not the kind of spices we use.
Exactly.
So that is education. Getting people to understand the difference. And we have a couple of the community organizations that are setting up booths that are going to be, again, giving out information, sharing a little bit more about their country. So there's a variety of ways that you can learn about the continent at the festival.
Of course, and I think a lot of people don't even know when you say, "Oh, I am from," let me say, the Gambia, for example. A lot of people don't even know what geographical location the Gambia is.
Right.
And what gets me all the time is when you talk to people, they say, "Oh, I've been to Africa." So where in Africa? it's a very it's a huge continent, right? So part of educating people about you know uh, Ghana is completely different from Togo. Even though they share borders, right? Or Togo is completely different from Benin Republic, they share border too. Or Benin is different from Nigeria culturally, whereby they share borders. So we're not gonna talk about the Kenya or Tanzania, all these countries, and when you talk about, East Africa, people think of all they think about is safari, right? So so
I
that's
think
not it.
Africa in
Africa
general.
in general, but it's not all about safari. It's about
That makes me think of, and you know what? I am so guilty of this.
At
Sometimes
least
when
you're
people
calling
ask me,
yourself out. This is good.
absolutely.
listen, right? Sometimes when people ask me where are you from, I say the first thing I say, I'm from Africa because I don't know how much they know. But then when they ask me where in Africa are you from, then I'm like, okay, so they know that there are many different countries of it. So then I drill it down, right? Because I realize sometimes I say, yes, I'm from Rwanda. They're like, what is that, right? So I
Mhm.
kind of started a big picture and then kind of drill down depending on the level of knowledge. But you're right, I am from Rwanda, and maybe I should start Rwanda. Rwanda is in East Africa, and East Africa is in Africa, and kind of start from small. But a lot of
Absolutely.
us are so guilty for
We
doing
are. We are. We are all guilty.
I'm learning to always start from Nigeria,
that.
and then
Hmm.
depending on how you look, because you can always tell if a person looks lost. So,
Right.
then I would say in West Africa, like I'm from Nigeria in West Africa. Okay, you know, but most times in this day and age with technology, and thank God to entertainment because it's helped us a little bit.
Hmm. Absolutely.
you know so if you say I'm from Nigeria, they know.
Oh yeah.
you
A
know
lot of folks know Nigeria. You guys are like taking over. And little Rwanda here, we're trying to like sneak in and say, hey, I'm here. But Nigeria, actually West Africa in general, I mean, you're just all over the music, the food. And that's why you guys have that war with Ghana on who has the best jollof rice,
there is
right?
no war. Please do
There's
not
no
insult
there's no,
us.
Oh,
there's no
there's no,
war.
okay.
There's
So
no war. I mean,
Nigeria wins
no, no,
every
no. This
time.
is the thing. This is what I always say. They are just like they are our little brothers and sisters. So
oh,
how
okay.
can you have a war with your sibling?
Oh,
It's
wow.
just
No,
it's a
we are
sibling
their
that
mentors, so you
so
can't have war as a mentee with your
I
mentor.
love
I
it.
That's
always
just
I always say when you talk about the jollof rice, what do you think the Senegalese will say? They say they have the best jollof rice, right? So for me, but jokes aside, I think that is the interesting thing about Africa. That is the
Mhm.
diversity of the continent of Africa. And I always say it's nothing. It's the same food, but we cook it differently. That's it.
Exactly.
It is the
Right.
same food that we
And
cook
people have
differently.
different taste
You know.
buds.
Yeah.
Someone might
She
like your
likes
rice
she
and they
likes
might
she
not like
likes she likes
Ghanaian
Ghanaian
jollof.
jollof. I don't like it. And the reason
Right.
why I don't like Ghanaian jollof is because it's too dry for my liking. That's it.
Okay.
So that does not
Okay.
mean that my own food is better than theirs or theirs is better than mine.
Exactly.
But
It's
just
all about
for
personal
the fun
preference.
of it, they just try to, but I mean, it's every food is unique, every culture is unique, every person in the continent of Africa is unique.
Absolutely. So, when it comes to the Columbus African Festival, let's talk about cross cultural collaboration and appreciation just within the community, especially. Actually, let's focus on Africans and African American. How are you hoping, or how are you envisioning cultural collaboration between the two groups?
Um, we've been doing that. Even though this year, we have actually two performers, right? Performers groups from the African American community. One of my favorites, the Deal Breakers, and also Funk City, right? So that is another way of trying to um, um, work together, work
Mhm.
together and also learn about each other. Um, I can see that there is an interest, especially from our fellow African brothers and African American brothers and sisters. There is this interest of knowing more about the motherland, right?
Absolutely.
Owners of food truck, I can tell you that 90% of our clientele or our customers are African Americans. So that tells you a lot that there are people out there, African Americans out there that are willing, that are eager to know more again about their roots, about the African culture, and there is this connectedness. So, and I think it will be good if we also harness that.
Of
So, and
course.
it's the learning is not just for the African Americans; it's for us too. It's vice versa. So we all have, to be open-minded to know more about each other, about each other's culture, and then once that is done, as far as I'm concerned, there will be, there will be more collaborations and more of working together as a people.
I'm curious, and this is going back to the folk of Nigeria. Have you seen a shift of business when since the Black Panther movie came out? Do you feel like you had more people interested in the food and even the festival, the culture in itself? Because I feel like a lot of conversations that I've had, and there's been a lot of reference on the Black Panther or Wakanda. Even when I go out to speak at schools, right? I speak to at elementary schools, also high schools, colleges, and I always get asked, "Does your country look like Wakanda?" Right? And it's always cute, but that starts a conversation, right? That wouldn't have been there if the movie hadn't been out. Have you seen any shift at all?
Um, at one point we used to have a clothing business, and that was during the whole Wakanda era, and so there were a lot of parties. So I felt like yes, to an extent, maybe in that regard, but with the food, I don't necessarily think that Wakanda. If anything, I would credit TikTok to
Yes.
why a lot of people actually are interested in trying African food, because it got really viral on social media. And so a lot of people say, hey, let me go and try this fufu, or let me try jollof rice, or let me try. So you get that from social media has helped a lot. But I also think the entertainment industry has also played a huge role, because there's no channel today that doesn't play Afro beats. So
Right.
there's a lot more, oh, Africa is not really just that jungle
A
anymore
jungle, yeah.
mindset that has shifted thoughts. And I also think the new generation Africans are also credited for some of this, because coming here in the 90s, and the way our parents thought of African Americans based on media, and their kids growing up surrounded with African Americans, having African American friends, has shifted the way we think of each other. So you do still have residuals of, I mean, every so
Gotcha.
often I have these arguments with African Americans that say they swear Africans don't like them. Again, this is going back to residual effects from 10 years, 20 years, 30 years ago. And so that also indicates the importance of events like these, right?
Absolutely.
And I wanted to add that one of the dance classes is being taught by an African American, and she's teaching line dancing. So again, this is the whole cross-cultural learning, because line dancing is not necessarily considered African per se.
Right.
It's more an African American um, trend. So we get to learn just as they get to learn. So this is an opportunity on both sides, as you both have mentioned, for us to learn more. And most times you know, when you incorporate things that say we have people outside of just because most African Americans think, oh, the African festival is only geared for Africans.
Africans.
So how are we represented? And it's understanding that Africa represents us all. That's one. And two, we do recognize that there's some differences in cultural or social norms that we try to bring into, like having the Funk City. They are traditional African American music, and also the line dancing. The poets are all African American. So again, it's trying to get both sides to see value in building a connected front. You know, we have to work together. We have to do this together as a team. You know, there's no such thing as they versus us.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, what do you want people who attend the festival to take away from it? What are you hoping for?
Yeah, I mean that. First of all, we are, you know, there is no that we don't have too much differences amongst us. You know, we we have more in common,
Mm-hmm.
than what seems to divide us. That is the most important thing. Just because I'm an African, or you're an African American, or you're Caucasian, at least
We're
someone
human.
we're all human beings. and
Absolutely.
uh,
We all
and one
breathe
thing
breath.
and one thing that always brings people together is music.
It's food.
It's
Music.
alcohol. We have alcohol, guys.
Oh, that's right.
Music.
Food, music, alcohol.
There you go. So that's a language that everyone listens to. You can
It's
people that don't
universal.
those don't even it's a universal language. People don't even understand. The other day I was watching is it a Juneteenth, and I saw the video performing, and people were just dancing. So even though I'm sure you look at the crowd, some people don't even understand what the video is saying, but they were dancing to the rhythm.
Yeah.
That is the universal. I can sit down here, I don't understand what they're saying in Spanish, but at the
But
same
you're
time,
dancing.
yeah, you go. So
I love Latino Fest for
yeah,
that.
so
You go because there's food, there's music.
Right.
Absolutely.
we're all human beings. We're all human beings, and let us just come and celebrate our diversity as a people, and enjoy the diversity of this community.
Absolutely. So, in what ways can people support you? How can they support the Columbus African Festival through the event? When they come there, or even before the event starts, how can people support you?
So there's multiple folds. First, we talked about the volunteering. We need volunteers because it takes a whole lot of crowd to make an event a success.
It takes a village. It takes a village.
Literally takes a village. So we definitely would appreciate people that have the time, a few hours, Saturday, Friday, Sunday. They can donate some of their time. Time is money, and we understand it, and we would appreciate it. If you are able to, you can go to our website. We do need funds. This is a community event. We are not charging people to come to Genoa Park. A lot of people that host events at Genoa Park charge, and the reason they do is because it definitely is expensive to host an event at the park. So we certainly could appreciate any kind of donation. If you go through Eventbrite, it allows you an opportunity to leave a donation. If you go to our website, there's a donate button. You can leave a donation. You can contact us, send us a message through Facebook. You can call the number on our flyers, 614-260-1771. We have sponsorship packages. If you want to be one of our sponsors, we would definitely appreciate any amount. And lastly, but in fact, most importantly, we want you to come. We want you to share. We want you to invite all your friends, because that is support. You being there means a lot to us, because there's no point spending money, getting performances, getting vendors, and setting up a stage, and there's no one in the crowd. So you definitely want people to come out and celebrate with us. That's definitely a huge way of saying we see you, we hear you, we're with you, and we are part of this. And this is our festival. Every single one of us. This is not their festival. Those people are doing it. That festival. No, it's our festival. It's a celebration of us.
Okay, absolutely. We are looking forward to having over 20,000 people at the event.
Absolutely.
Mr. Barth, would you like to share final comments before we end
Abs-
our show?
Absolutely, absolutely. I just want to take this time to thank our sponsors. We have them. We have to give them a shout out. The Greater Columbus Arts Council. They've been of great support this year. I want to thank the City Council of Columbus, especially the three council members. Council member Louders Barroso de Padilla, Council member Bankston, and also Council member Favor for really being, they've been with us since last year. They've been supporting this event since last year. So we really thank them, and also to all the communities, community leaders out there, CICC Church, ETSS, and everyone that has been of great help one way or the other. We really appreciate it, and we look forward to more. Again, as I said, this is a community event, and the idea is showcasing African culture, and we thank them for all they've been doing so far. And we look forward to seeing them, at Genoa Park. Go ahead.
I did want to add, I want us to thank Eco Square for hosting this podcast.
Absolutely.
We couldn't have done it without them. And certainly you, Dr. Bigger, we know you have a huge trip tomorrow, and making the time to be here, it means a lot. And every member of this team that has worked tirelessly to make this event a success, we're really excited. It's coming up in a couple of weeks, and we couldn't have done it without all of you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And you know what? As I mentioned, I am humbled to be working with you. I believe in you. I believe in your cause. And thank you for coming on this show today. And all the folks that are out there watching, we are waiting to see you at the Columbus African Festival. This is Dr. Barth and Dr. John Shepkong, the power couple, and also the founders of the Columbus African Festival and the folk of Nigeria. My name is Clementine Bihiga. Check me out at clementinelive.com. I'm a motivational speaker and a published author. Hope to connect with everyone. Thank you and have a great evening.
Thank you so much,
everybody.
Bye. Have a great evening.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.